All right, I want to welcome everybody to this wonderful interview we're about to do. We're going to do a segment of many following, I am sure. But to begin with, I want to introduce Jay. And I met Jay, hello. I met Jay in Destin several years ago, Destin, Florida, at a wonderful retreat. And I was blessed to be able to talk to him for a while. He has a lot of wisdom that I wasn't ready for in the moment. I've taken bits and pieces as time has gone on. But my husband bought home a book a few weeks ago and asked if I would be willing to read it. Because it had your name onto it, that was the only reason why I read it. And it was a wonderful book. And then my husband asked if I would be willing to do the study with him. And I said yes. And I think we've talked about this before. A few weeks into our study together, we got into a discrepancy, a strong discussion. And we stopped and then made up after a few days. And now we're back on track again. I like to say we're on track, but it's so prevalent. Everything that you're saying in that book is exactly what we're going through right now, is that karmic dance. And I don't want to get too much into it because I want you to be able to tell more of the book. So the book is called Loving Sober. Did I get that right? Because I had switched it around. And if you'd be willing to tell everybody what Loving Sober is all about. And I also love the portion that you say about, because I've been meditating on this the last couple of weeks, couples of goodwill. I love thinking of that when you said that. I was like, oh, that's right, I'm a couple of goodwill. Or we are. John and I are a couple of goodwill. Right. So please take it away.
Well, it's really a privilege to be with you, Cindy, and also to be with all your friends who have come to you for information and inspiration in ways that they can improve their lives. My name is Jay Stennett, and I am the author of Loving Sober. It's a field guide to spiritual intimacy. And many of us have enjoyed the fun of physical intimacy and have had different degrees of success with emotional intimacy. But I believe that the core of all committed relationships is spiritual. And that in spiritual intimacy, we can find the fun, the joy, the love that we all deserve to have. Now, you mentioned being a couple of goodwill. And I know that everybody that's with us today, when you walk down the street, you're going to see hundreds of people that absolutely believe that if they only had a partner that at least was willing to try and understand that their life would be wonderful. And yet those of us many times that already have that gift, we forget it because we become so focused on what the other is not doing. What Loving Sober is it's a way to focus upon our behavior and the errors that we make while learning to observe and value the great things that our partners are doing for us day in and day out. And yet we completely miss it because we're in our heads. So, the book is actually, it was designed for the iPad. And I don't know if you've, it's available on Cindy's site. You can download it. But it's also available through iTunes. And it's great fun. It's got a couple of videos to it if you download it from iBooks. And it's very short, and it's instructional. It's 10 different segments, complete with exercises for you to apply to your life. And all things that I really wish that I would have known, but I didn't have a clue about. And once I learned these skills, my marriage, which was in no... I had the best deal I had ever had. And yet we still were in this cycle of every 6 to 9 weeks there would be a disconnect. We'd have some kind of an argument or a disagreement. Maybe sometimes there'd be tears, a door slamming or two. Then it'd be real quiet around the house for 3 or 4 days. Then somebody'd come up with an excuse for us to make love. pressure would be off.
Right.
Back about it, things would be a lot better. And yet, even though we had our best interests, each of our best interests in mind, this thing would happen again. And after years and decades of being on the spiritual path, I was mystified about why it was that I was unable to get out of this, what I like to call the karmic dance. What Loving Sober does is it gives you a way of getting out of that cycle of blame, of shame, and of emotional upheaval. The wonderful thing about it is that it does not address the past. We're only talking about this present moment and how it is that I can be a better partner and creating an environment where my partner feels safe enough to be a better partner with me. And it's a great privilege to do this.
That is wonderful. When I read the part about the every 6 to 9 weeks, that was me. I had so much mail at that address. I wasn't opening it up, of course, but until I read that, and I told John, I said, well, "Gosh, there we are." He said, "I know." He said, "That's why I asked you to read this, because this is where we are. We have that cycle over and over again." And I was like, "Yeah, it would be wonderful to get that block out of the way to find out why it is that we have these strong discussions about every 6 to 9 weeks."
And it's not that there's some real impediment. It's only a lack of information. We, just for instance, and one of this book has 10 different principles that when you add them all together produces a loving, exciting relationship. We're not talking about, this is not a veil of tears. What we're talking about is going on a very short voyage of discovery to find out what it is that really practically can make my relationship or create an environment where I can be in a relationship, because this is for single people as well as for couples. Create an environment where I can be in a relationship that is fulfilling and joyful. Now, I like to always use one of the components in this is honesty. And I'm sure that everyone that's with us today was probably brought up in a home where honesty was the best policy. That's what we were taught. We went to church and we were all taught about being honest. But in my home, and this is only my home, my mother had 4 really good reasons not to be honest with my father. And my father had 4 really good reasons not to be honest with my mother. Now, I didn't realize that this was dishonesty. I just thought this was management, relationship management skills. And so I applied these to my marriage. Now, unbelievably, my wife came from the same type of environment. In fact, I've worked with hundreds of couples now, and nobody yet has said, "Oh, that didn't happen in my home." And the interesting thing was, though, that her father and her mother had their 4 reasons each, and I'm just pulling 4 out of it.
Right.
But they were different than the ones in my home. So we got 16 different reasons not to be honest. And yet if you ask me, "Jay, are you honest in your relationship?" I would say, absolutely. Absolutely. But yet what I was doing was I was trying to manage my relationship. And I can control or enjoy my partner, but I can't do that.
Okay. That's